What's up, everybody? It's the Junkyard Dawgcast live on YouTube. I'm Jake Rowe with Dogs 24/7. With me, Kip Adams and Rusty Mansell. Trace Brace, all three of us. We got the gang back together today, and that means one thing. We're making picks because it's Thursday and it's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I ain't calling it nothing else. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It's not at some Battle of the St. John's or the Battle of the Okefenokee or whatever you want to call it. It's a cocktail party. I'm gonna have some drinks tomorrow once I get down in the Sunshine State myself.
You're working.
Yeah, cocktails, buddy. Cocktails. That's part of work. You know, at a certain level you got to get on. Certain level.
All right.
Certain level you got to get on. You got to get right.
You got different.
Got to get right for that Braves game.
I hope it gets rained out. Help us sort out the rotation a little bit.
You've been pushing that one hard.
All right, yeah. So let's get into this thing. And obviously, Georgia 14-point favorite. Kip, has the line moved?
No, this one's been the most stagnant line, I think, of the season. That hasn't really – I mean, it's hit 14.5 a couple times, bounced back to 14, but – one of those two numbers is pretty much what the line's been at any point. I've had that tab open, checking, just waiting to see something happen.
Yeah.
No movement at all.
Yeah, waiting to see a 1.5 come off of that or something, or a point. Not hadn't happened yet. So Georgia 14.5 point favorite. You might have gotten it at either one of those. Rusty, going into this game, you've had all week to think about it. We talked about it just a little bit yesterday. Prevailing thought, key matchup, give it to us.
Key matchup. I'll say Georgia's defense being able to not let Florida have explosive plays. Last year they had explosive plays. I think when you look at this game, the longer Florida has to drive down the field, the likely they're going to score enough points to win this game. I think defensively, Georgia is the number one defense in the country. I think everybody would agree on that. But can they limit Florida, who's had a bye week? A lot of time for Dan Mullen to dial up some things. I think they're going to they're going to have trick plays. They're going to go for it on fourth down. They're going to do everything. They're not going to leave anything in the bag tomorrow, Saturday when they play Georgia. So I think the key matchup is Georgia's defense limiting the explosive plays, giving up chunk plays, a big play to Florida, because if they do that, then I think Georgia, they handle business on Saturday.
With you on that for sure. Kip, what's your prevailing thought? Had all week to kind of look at it, or a key matchup, either one?
Well, I think Kirby Smart always tries to discuss the DNA of his team or what he wants the DNA to be. And he always mentions, composure. He mentions composure and toughness, but really that composure is something that he tries to harp on and hammer home. That's important. And I think more so than ever in Jacksonville, that's what you got to have. Big plays are bound to happen, good or bad for your team. And I think when you're playing a team like Florida that, goes for the big play on both sides of the ball, that's what Georgia has to have. If you're Nakobe Dean, you're going to have eyes on the quarterback to kind of see what he's doing, but also just know that the running backs and tight ends are obviously going to be a big part of this game, or their goal offensively. And so that eye discipline and that composure, if you give up a big play to forget it and be ready for the next one, is going to be key. And at the same time, at the quarterback position, whoever's playing quarterback for Georgia is going to have the same thing, because they're going to try to they're going to try to get in the backfield and kind of rally a little bit. That's going to be their goal defensively to have a chance in this game. So I think, if Georgia's linebackers, if Georgia's quarterback, having composure is going to be the key for Georgia to accomplish its goal and kind of put this one away as quickly as possible and kind of get everyone calm and playing the kind of football that Kirby Smart wants them to play, which is not turning the ball over and being efficient on both sides of the ball.
Speaking of turning the ball over, Florida needs to break a streak, I think, to win this game. And that streak is 10 games in a row now. They've turned it over at least once. Florida has turned it over at least once in 10 straight games dating back to last season. I'm not 100% sure. I can look at it real quick. I believe that game that they didn't turn it over last season, the last time they didn't turn it over was at Tennessee last year. Most of the time, in most games, they've turned it over more than once. I mean, they turned it over more than once the last 3 games last season. They've turned it over. They had a 5 straight a streak, of 5 straight games coming, from last season to this season, turning it over at least twice a game. And they went 3 straight with just turning it over once, and now they've turned it over 2 times and 4 times in the past 2 games, 4 against LSU. A lot of interceptions this year, 12 interceptions. Now 4 of those happened the last time out against LSU. So that's a problem. But at the same time, I mean, you look at 12, you look at 8 in a game like this, that's still a lot in the SEC. And I think that's something that Florida has to do, absolutely has to do to win this game. And it's something that's going to have to do, early at, the first half to kind of stay in this game, because I just don't see the Gators being able to kind of give Georgia a turnover. Whether it's, there are 2 types of turnovers. There are field flipping turnovers that allow an offense to have a short field. There are turnovers that, if they're deeper into the opponent's territory, well, then that's basically throwing away an opportunity to score. One way or another, they hurt. It doesn't matter where they happen, they're problematic. And so I think that Georgia, coming into this game, you talk about Georgia needing to take care of the football. I think it's even more imperative that Florida has to take care of the ball, because if one of these teams can come out and win and and -2 turnover margin, it's Georgia. Florida's not going to do it. You ask yourself that question, and we'll get into picks very shortly here, okay? But you ask yourself that question: which team has the best chance of blowing the other team out? That's the team you should pick. Well, Georgia's got the best chance of blowing Florida out. They're a 2-score favorite. And I think everybody would agree to that. I think it would be it would floor everybody if Florida came out here and kind of grabbed a comfortable lead on Georgia in this game. But to me, Georgia needs to force turnovers. Florida's got to try to prevent them, because that's just something they haven't been able to do in 10 straight games. That kind of blew me away a little bit when I saw that a little bit earlier. All right, guys, that's out of the way. I know this is a quick first half of the show. We're going to have picks on the other side. Let's do it. All right, guys, before we get into picks, 2-word answers from each of you. Just 2 words. Who's going to start at quarterback? In your mind, who do you think starts the quarterback? Rusty, who you got?
Stetson Bennett.
Kip, who you got?
JT Daniels.
Kip, I think I would have agreed with you a couple days ago. Gut feeling told me JT. I think I agree with Rusty about both playing. And I know I'm breaking my own rule here with the 2-word answer. And I think if both are going to play, I think Stetson starts. Coming in off of 3 starts, I've had some time to kind of think about this one. I think Stetson's going to get the start. I think both are going to play. And who plays more might depend on how well whoever gets into the game plays. But I think Georgia's in a really good situation here, because they're not feeling around in the dark trying to figure out the quarterback situation. They got 2 guys they feel really good can get it done, and both have played at a high level this year. All right, let's get into them picks. And Kip, I'm going to you first, man. Lead us off.
All right.
Against right-handers, you are Eddie Rosario right now. Who you got?
All right. Well, I hope I have that Eddie Rosario performance here. At least that game 1 or the NLCS performance, game 1. Obviously, he's the guy I hope that brings it home in Atlanta as well. You guys talked about the quarterbacks. That's the one thing that I think is, even though you're feeling as good as you've ever felt about Georgia, it's kind of the one potential stumbling block there. And it's just that as good as Stetson Bennett's been, he has not really been the guy that's performed well coming off the bench. I don't like either one. I don't like the quarterback rotation plan. I think it's not one that really gives you a lot of momentum. It's a potential momentum killer. I don't like playing 2 quarterbacks on purpose. If one guy's rolling, he should be rolling. And if one guy's not performing well, then you put the other guy in and hope for something better. But we haven't really seen that where Georgia's put a different quarterback in and kind of, gotten better performance from him. I think that's just that one thing, that one aspect. If you're kind of worried about this game is if Georgia comes out slow or comes out performing well, makes the change at quarterback and doesn't get good results out of that. That's the one stumbling block. Other than that, I think this game is really in Georgia's favor. It's kind of a very misleading because if you look at it on paper, Georgia's only scored one more touchdown than Florida has this year, I believe, 34-33. And I think Florida's only had to punt the ball one more time than Georgia this year. I think it's 23-22. They're both top 2 in the SEC and yards per play differential.
Turnovers, though, Kip. That's one of the reasons.
I mean, let me continue my analysis here. When we start looking at this game, I think that's the difference is that Florida has done a terrible job taking care of the football so far this year. And honestly, you look at the four turnovers against LSU, but then you go back a game further. I mean, they threw 2 interceptions against Vanderbilt, and the fact that you've turned it over 13 times this year, and then you look at whether Florida can force turnovers. They haven't done a good job with that either. They've only got 6 on the year. It's 12th in the SEC. 4 of their 6 turnovers came against Florida Atlantic and again Vanderbilt. So they're not, the stats are misleading there. I think you look at Florida's quarterbacks, obviously in the run game, a little misleading for their offensive line. I think they're kind of seen as overachievers, but I think it's also a little smoke and mirrors with the way their quarterbacks are able to break tackles and also just create for themselves in one-on-one situations. I don't think that Florida is going to be able to get away with running the ball with these quarterbacks. And I also don't think they're going to be able to protect. If they have Anthony Richardson back there, they're going to try to do play action. They're going to try to throw it deep with him. I don't think they're going to be able to protect long enough for Anthony Richardson to either roll out or again, for there to be any room over the top to make a lot of big plays. And if Emory Jones is in there, Georgia's going to press. I don't think that Georgia's going to sit back and let him dink and dunk down the field on underneath routes and move the ball consistently. I think they're going to press and they're going to force him into bad situations as well. So I see Georgia having a lot of success offensively in the run game. I think that Gravon Dexter, I think Kyrie Elam, Zachary Carter, those guys are guys that are probably going to play on Sundays, but overall this defense is not really performed well in key situations. I think Georgia's going to be in manageable third downs, and I don't think that Grantham's defense is going to be able to get enough pressure on whoever's at quarterback to really force them into bad decisions. So I really like Georgia in this game offensively. I think they're going to be able to, really capitalize on some big plays, some broken tackles by the running backs. I think Georgia kind of goes away with this one in the third quarter. I got them winning 31-13. It may be 2 touchdowns, but you know what? I'll predict another block kick. I don't think Florida gets to 14. I thought about player of the game for a while here. I mean, Nakobe Dean would be an outstanding pick because I think he's going to have a lot of big plays in this game. I mean, honestly, I think you can go several players on defense, but you know what? I think in the end, Chris Smith is going to be a guy that gets multiple turnovers in this game because, like we said, I think Florida turns the ball over too much. I think they're good for 2 to 3 interceptions in this game. So I got Chris Smith as player of the game, Georgia 31-13.
Rusty, I hate going last all the time, so I'm going to sandwich in between you guys. And I like something Kip had to say there, and it was about Stetson being that pinch hitter type of quarterback, being the 2-and-1 or whatever, the come in drive, the peer lane. You're right. I mean, he came on really well in relief of DeJuan Mathis, and we don't have a huge sample size, but it seems like he kind of does get into a groove a little bit better as a starter. He got off to a really fast start against this Florida team last year before getting hurt. So I think that's a really good point there and might factor into the coach's decision, which I'm not even sure has been made yet. I do believe that they plan on playing both of them. And I think it'll sort itself out in due time. But as of right now, I think they've got 2 guys playing at a high level, and this is going to help them get it sorted out. And I think it can help them win. This is not a typical 2 quarterback situation in my mind. And I could be wrong on that. We'll see. It could be a stumbling block. There are a lot of different ways to look at this game, and I always tend to think that if a team gets absolutely exploited with a week to prepare, it's one thing. If they get exploited with 2 weeks to prepare, it's another. And Kip, I think I brought this up on our Tuesday show, the Sean Williams thing, back at Georgia in 2012, and the him calling his teammates soft and Georgia's defense soft, and Todd Grantham was the coordinator of that defense, and Georgia went from Kentucky running it down their throat to basically allowing nothing to Florida and turning them over 6 times. I think Florida's defense is going to have some pride. Now, I don't know how resilient that pride is going to be if Georgia's able to get out to a fast start. But I think they're going to come out with their hair on fire. They're going to play really well. And I think we're looking at a close game at halftime, a game that you're probably looking at and you're thinking, well, Georgia controlled this a little bit, or maybe Georgia should be up more than it is. But I think Georgia leads. I think it's going to be pretty tight, 14-7, 17-13, something like that. I don't necessarily know that I see Florida scoring that much early, but I'm with you. I think Georgia pulls away late, and I think it's going to be not necessarily depth that allows Georgia to pull away late, but adjustments, because Florida's got some guys. They're having to depend on some guys like an Anthony Richardson, even an Emory Jones, who Emory Jones has played a lot of football. He hasn't played a lot of big-time football. He hasn't played a lot of pressure-packed situation-type football. And I think that Georgia's going to be able to adjust and, like you said, get those turnovers at some point in this game. I think Georgia's special teams is going to make a play at some point in this game. And I think Georgia kind of runs away with this one, because I do think that if Georgia can put some adversity in front of Florida, and if it can put enough adversity in front of Florida, then the heads might hang a little bit, because this is a 3-loss team, and it's really tough to keep that "what am I doing this for" type of mentality. I do it sometimes during the podcast. What am I doing this for? All right. But it's tough to keep that kind of from creeping in. And I think Florida's kind of on the brink of that, at losing 2 games in a row. And I think if Georgia can put some adversity in front of them, that's going to happen. I'm taking Georgia 38-13. I thought about going a little bit on the low side, because I do think Florida's defense is going to kind of answer the bell, and they had their pride taken away from them a little bit by LSU. But I think Georgia's going to not only make adjustments, but also wear them down and kind of pull away 38-13. And I'm going to go on the defensive side as well, because I think that Georgia's linebackers are a big-time key in this game. And I'm going to say Quay Walker. And I say Quay Walker because I look back at the last 2 games against Kentucky and against Auburn, and the dude is playing at a really high level. He's making plays. He's making plays on the quarterback. He's making plays in coverage. He's one of the first guys to the ball when he's in the game. And I think this is a game where Quay Walker is going to make a couple of big plays, whether it's a 3rd down sack when he's the only guy that has a chance to keep one of these quarterbacks from getting to the 1st down marker, or an interception, or a tipped ball that results in an interception. I think Quay Walker is going to have a big game. Rusty, clean us up, man.
Well, first of all, I think I'm going to start. Bruce is already drinking. Brian's already drinking. He said for you to come on down, Jake. He's already in Jacksonville. He's drinking. Bruce has got it 55-0. I think he's with Brian already this morning. They're together somewhere early.
Sauce.
So our comment area is pretty lit. I think it's Tennille.
Yeah.
Tennille here lost some bets, cried for days last year. So our comment section is pretty popping this morning. Thank you for everybody that subscribed here lately, man. It's been crazy how quick this thing is taking off, and all our guys we have on every week. And I'll go back to this. I'm kind of going to be a Debbie Downer right here a little bit. Everybody has one of those games. Every team you go back, you look at LSU 2019, you can go back to every one of these national championship teams I looked at the last couple of days. Everybody has one of those games where somebody has to make a late kick for whatever reason. It's an extremely tight game, 4-quarter game. I really didn't think that way this week. I really didn't think going into this week. You look at a 14-point spread, the way Georgia's defense is playing. It's Jacksonville, and crazy things have happened in Jacksonville many, 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 many times. It's craziness happens down there. You go back to the 2017, Georgia was a 21-point underdog, and they won that game. You go down there in 2002, Georgia's a 11-point or 9-point favorite, undefeated, and they lose that game. There's all kind of craziness that's happened both sides. Florida has got this is probably the most athletes, pound for pound that Georgia's played. minus Clemson game. Whatever happened there, Georgia dominated them. But I just get this feeling this is going to be that game where Georgia's going to have to pull one out late. Florida, they've got athletes. They hadn't put it together. They put it together against Alabama and almost beat Alabama. And, very, very good game there. Just went to LSU and, quite frankly, laid an egg at LSU. You look at that tape and they just ran it down their throat. And you look at what Georgia likes to do and likes to get physical with you. I'm going to pick Georgia here, but I think this game is going to be a lot closer than many. I mean, I'm looking at people and nobody's really giving Florida a chance. I'm not seeing anybody that's saying, hey, this game's going to be, this is a 14-point spread. I watched 2 different shows this morning and they're predicting a Georgia blowout. It's just one of those things where every year, if you're going to be a championship team, you're going to have to find out where you are at some point during that regular season. There's going to be a game where it just doesn't make sense. Can you win that game? I think this game's going to be a lot tighter than people think. I'm going to go Georgia 24. I'm going to go Florida 17. And I think they're going to find some way. I think Richardson's going to give Georgia some problems at times, but I can't see him making enough plays to win this game. I think Georgia finds a way to win it. They get out of Jacksonville with a W. Kip, fact check me here, but I think I'm 2 for 2 on the last MVPs. I think I went with Ladd McConkey at Auburn, and I went with Brock Bowers against Kentucky. So
I know you went with Brock. I don't know if you went with Ladd. I'm going
to say I went with Ladd, and if I'm wrong, y'all can just put it on the next pod. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm 2 for 2. Never mind the other 20 in a row that I missed. I think this game, because of who Grantham is and how much he blitzes and how much one-on-one coverage he leaves his guys. Now, Kyrie Elam, I looked the other day, I think he's projected as one of the top 2 corners taken, along with Andrew Booth out of Clemson. Probably one of the top 2 corners that's going to be upcoming drafts. So this guy, they're going to leave him on an island, let him man up somebody. That's going to free up some guys, take some shots, whether it's Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels. But I think this is a game at the end of the day that Ladd McConkey kind of cements who he is and a fan favorite for Georgia. He's going to get some one-on-one coverage. And it's one of those things. I know you look at him and he's not the biggest dude. He's not really, really yoked up like some of these guys are. But before you know what, he's on top of you in coverage, ball skills, change of direction. He's got all those things. I think Ladd McConkey has that Michael Bennett type game where Michael Bennett caught those balls in coverage, caught that touchdown pass. I think it was 2012, that game. I think Ladd McConkey comes in here and scores 2 touchdowns for Georgia. I'll go with him. I'm taking Georgia 24-17. I think this game is much closer, and there'll be a lot of fingernails chewed on in the fourth quarter from this Georgia Bulldog fan base.
All right, you got the picks, everybody, and if Georgia blows them out, y'all give Rusty a hard time.
Hey, sooner or later they're going to have one of those. I've got to trust that Florida can find a way to score. Dan Mullen's pretty good offensively. He can dial some things up. You give him some time, 2 weeks to prepare for this game. I don't think they're an explosive team, so they're going to have to be creative to get some touchdowns and maybe something cheap, a fumble recovery or something like that. But end of the day, I don't see them beating Georgia. I just think this is one of those games, man. It's kind of got that feel to me like this is going to be one of those games that people are going to talk about for a while, and Georgia finds a way to win it.
I got the fact check in.
Okay, give it to me.
I've looked. Rusty picked Brock Bowers for the Kentucky game.
Okay.
Rusty also picked Brock Bowers for the Auburn game. So
I'm gonna fact check that, and I'll let that.
I'm looking at the screen right now. I'll send you that screenshot.
Rusty picked Ladd in his heart. He picked Ladd in his heart for the Auburn.
I picked Ladd McConkey more than anybody. So by God, I'm saying I picked Ladd McConkey, and I'm going with it. So how about that?
Yeah, I think both me and Kip picked Stetson Bennett for the Auburn game. But yeah, all right, guys, it's all over. But do what now?
Yeah, you definitely. I know I picked Stetson. You picked Stetson. So how about this? Who's the quarterback at the end of the game for Georgia? If Rusty's saying they're going to have to pull this one out and win it, who is that quarterback that leads that drive to put Georgia up?
Good question.
This is what I told Jake Kip that we did on Wednesday, I think. Georgia, regardless of what's going on and what they want to say, I think at the end of this game, Georgia fan base is going to know exactly what Georgia's thinking with their quarterback position because that's a good point. Who's playing in that fourth quarter in a tight game? You're going to know who they're rolling with right now and kind of who they're thinking about doing. So one last quick question, a little curveball for everybody. We'll get out of here.
Here we go.
Such a hot topic this week everywhere. Kind of
Uncle Charlie.
a little different. What's your favorite Halloween candy? Jake, what you got?
Reese's peanut butter cups, man.
Reese's peanut butter cup. It's the only answer you're allowed to have.
Jordan, what you got? Jordan,
sorry, I had to hop in to say Reese's as well.
Yeah,
all three, y'all.
Yeah,
that's why he's the producer.
I mean,
man knows
year round, man. I mean,
Rusty, we know you're a candy corn guy, dude.
I like candy corn.
Oh my god!
Listen, I don't mind candy corn either. I just hadn't had it in forever.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been fine if you said Reese's Pieces because it's a good change up to get it in that form.
Hey, I like Werther's Original. Does that count?
My man Brian Bivens, who's by the way, I think he's drinking. He said he went with candy corn, so that's my kind of guy there.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely
you guys are Jolly Ranchers and Zima guys. I could already tell.
Oh my god!
Ooh,
oh my god! Jolly Ranchers and Zima, Skittles and Zima. Kip has come in with a haymaker here at the end and ended it.
Man,
that was like Fury hitting Wilder in the 10th round. Man, that was bad. All right, guys, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna get on our way. All over but the crying now. Hopefully, no crying for Georgia fans. We don't want to see you guys upset. But that's it for this episode of the Junkyard Dawgcast. I'm Jake Rowe with Dogs 24/7. They're Kip Adams and Rusty Mansell from the same place. And y'all take it easy.